down here at the St. Augustine Lighthouse, and we're not getting to do a night tour because we didn't get it booked in time. But hope you enjoy this footage, and we're going to have me going all the way up into the lighthouse, all the way down. So hope you enjoy. Thanks for watching. So yeah, St. Augustine Lighthouse. This is a place that I visited while we were down in Florida, and it was really neat. I was kind of bummed that we didn't get to do the night tour, but you see we got footage here driving up to it, and it's kind of, it just kind of comes along and then boom, there it is. And so we're pulling into the parking lot here. That's what's out front. And when you first get into the parking lot, there's this walkway of these big, huge, beautiful trees. And this is the gift shop that actually was an old house that actually was going to be torn down. And some ladies had it petitioned to be saved. And here's inside the gift shop. It's actually a really nice gift shop. I picked up a couple shirts, not very expensive shirts. And here's some footage and moving around inside there. And I don't know if it was an artifact on my camera, and I'm not a real big believer in orbs. But you see some orbs here. I kind of slowed it down, but it could have been reflection or something. They did move along with my camera, but there were multiple of them. It started as one. They have this light here that's in the store that they sell. That's actually the top of the light at the lighthouse they can sell. And they give you this bracelet, and you pretty much walk around with that. And they have maps out at front that shows the different areas of the lighthouse. It's not just the lighthouse, it's several other places as well. And the thing that you walk through is called a maritime hammock in the very beginning. And it's basically just this area. There's a play area there where the kids can play. And it's just this area of the trees that are all grown and everything. It's just a real nice area. There's some picnic tables in that area. And you just kind of keep walking towards. And when you come out of the end of this trail, you come to where the lighthouse is. And the lighthouse, you can kind of see it from when you're walking down the trail there. And you come into the lighthouse and the keeper's house that was built in 1876. And this is where the keeper lived. There was rooms downstairs, parlor and stuff like that was downstairs. The bedrooms and stuff was upstairs. There was a kitchen to the right, because the kitchens were built outside during this time, because if the kitchen caught fire, it would burn the whole house down. So it was very common for kitchens back then during plantation type days to burn down. So this basically shows the first floor, shows the layout of the first floor there, and the different rooms. They modified this. You don't have the stairs and stuff like that now. You have to get upstairs from outside. And one of the big things that they talk about is the innkeeper that hung himself on the porch outside of the keeper's house. And the keeper's house also had a basement, which was very uncommon for houses in Florida, especially along the coast. But this house did have a basement because it was above sea level, quite a bit above sea level. And they basically used it to store things. And in the middle was the cisterns, where they used a series of pipes to collect rainwater to bring down into the basement to collect for water. And here's the outdoor kitchens I was talking about. The outdoor kitchens was built in 1888 and basically was the function to not burn down the house. Here's looking out the front porch. This is inside the house going down into the basement. It was a real neat spiral staircase. I didn't get many photos or video inside the house because the day we were there on a Saturday, and the place was crowded as hell. So I did want to keep this video in. I did take some pictures, but you can just see there that there's legs everywhere. And the video, it was just crowded as it could be. But here's just some artifacts that was down in the basement area that they just had on display, because this portion of it, the whole thing's a museum, but this is where they showed off a lot of the things. A lot of it was from shipwrecks or cannons. There's like a grate that would have been off of a boat. There was some gold coins that was found. There was a security camera above that. There's a bell that came from a ship. And
This is where this thing would have been mangled and cut up, because when they shipwrecked or ran aloft, a lot of times what they would do, and that's the front of the keeper's house there, and this is up at the top of the keeper's house. This is where all the bedrooms would have been, but they knocked out all the walls. There was 4 bedrooms originally, and there was 4 fireplaces upstairs. So there would have been a fireplace in each bedroom. So there would have been a wall there. So they did quite a little bit of remodeling up there on the top floor, just to make it where it's museum friendly. And they had a ship there, a model ship that they're building in progress, and they had it out, said don't touch it, fragile. They also had where they were showing movies and stuff like that, information, and a lot of stuff that has to do with the maritime. There you see people sitting and watching the movies in the other 2 fireplaces. But yeah, so there's a shot from inside. And what I was saying earlier is the stuff that they had, a lot of times when they would run aloft or shorebound, they would throw things off of the boat to try to lighten the boat to get loose from if they hit a sandbar or something like that. So here we go. We're going to go into the lighthouse. That's a shot from the keeper's house to the lighthouse. Now that little building on the front is the keeper's office. It says 1871 there. Now that's the keeper's office. So we're walking in here, and right here on the right is where they would store the oil. And it was lard and fat and stuff, and it was eventually oil, and it was eventually kerosene. And that thing has the feeling of being 30 pounds, because what they would have to do is every 2.5 hours, they would have to come down here from those tanks, fill up the oil can down there with oil, and then they would have to take it up the 219 stairs. I believe it's 219. We should see that later. But they'd take it up the 200 something stairs to the top of the tower. They had to do that every 2.5 hours. And they also had to wind this gear where there was this weight. And you'll see these eyelets in a little bit. But there was a weight that would have been lifted from the first level down to the second. And what it did, the weight pulled it down. Here's this can. You see how heavy that is. But the weight lowering down would have pulled a clock mechanism that basically rotated the light, the reflection light up top, to make the light move around. And so they had to, every 2.5 hours, they had to go in. Now this is actual keeper's office, so they had keeper's uniform, keeper's chair. They had one of the armed forces stayed there, so they had the rifles there from that period of time that was in there. This was a really neat little room, and this is just inside the keeper's office. This is the room that is right at built onto the lighthouse. But yeah, so basically we'll see it in a minute, where they had to, every 2.5 hours, they had to go up these steps to the top, put more oil in, and then they had to, there's that's the reflector that would turn, the reflector sleeve. And then they would have to crank the thing from the top that would lower the weight back down into this portion right here. But now it's all done with electricity. So this is walking up into the base. You're actually inside the lighthouse here, and there is that spot where that weight would come back down and rest into. It would rest into this spot here. So it was a huge weight, and because it had to be heavy enough to use gravity to pull it down. So it's just here, it talks about, how to stay safe, because you are going to be climbing a bunch of stairs. So it's just a little thing here to how to stay safe climbing. And you see that the walls are brick. The steps are made out of iron. We're going to look up here, so you're going to see how far we're going to be going up. It is 8 levels to the top. And you see there on that first level, that little eyelet. So it would have, and there's one all the way up, because there was a cable that passed down through all of those and lowered and was hooked to that weight. And then that weight lowered into that hole and rotated the light. So we're going to start up the stairs here, And like I said, the stairs they're not free-form standing. If you look, you'll see that there are spaces every so often where they are anchored into the wall, but they are individual steps. They were assembled on site. They were cast off site and assembled on site. And at some of the landings, they had these information things. You burn 24 calories going up. They talked about Keeper William Russell, how they had to, take up 20 pounds of oil. Coming down was 11 calories, and then they've got a bucket there, and it shows that you're at the 43rd step. So we're going to start up to the second landing. And this actually wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. I thought that I was going to be exhausted by the time I got to the top, and I actually wasn't. I mean, I'm a big guy, and not in the worst shape, but not in the best shape either. So it really actually wasn't that bad. So like I said, you can just see the amount of people. There's a window here to look out. They had the windows open that day. It was a nice breeze. So now we're going to go up to the third landing. We're heading up to the third. Like I said, you can see one of those braces there in the walls where it goes into the wall, so it's not entirely freestanding. And then this is the third level. That's from the third level looking down. For those of you who have, what do they call it? Fear of heights. Yeah, third level there. If you have a fear of heights, So then this talks about the birds and how he used to have to, he'd come out and there'd be thousands of birds. And they're talking about, why do you think there's fewer birds today? And I tried to film this to where if you wanted to pause it and read it, you could. At this point in time, there it talks about the story about the women who saved. At this point in time, it talked about how far we're up in the air. So we're heading up to, I believe, the fourth level now. Yep, number 4. And at this level, at 219 steps, there was an earthquake that hit in August 31st of 1886. It's over 1 million bricks. And lightning has struck the tower. It gets struck several times a year. In August 31st, 1886, an earthquake shook that made the tower shake for 40 seconds. Talks about the bullseye diatropic prisms. We're at the 113th step, and I know I probably mispronounced that. 113th step, and so we're heading up. This is going to level 5. And these are all pretty much the same. There is one level that's a lot longer than the other, and it's when you're almost to going from the 7th to the 8th level. So at this level, there's a window. So I'll look out here, and you can see how high we are. It's got a beautiful view. It was a nice breeze coming in that day. Beautiful view. It was a nice, pretty day. And down there you can see, I believe that's the keeper's house. You can see it down there. And so we're going to look over the side here, look down, and man, it's a long way down. That's not exactly the straightest shot, but man, it's a long way down. It's kind of mesmerizing seeing that and seeing the people go down. Yep, we're level 5. And seeing the people go down, and it's actually quite mesmerizing. And it was just cool being here because I was always wanted to visit this place based on the episode The Ghost Hunters. And I just actually watched that episode the other night. And I was like, I was there, So we're going up to the next level, level 6. And Ghost Hunters actually, if you can find that episode online or whatever, they actually caught some pretty good footage of a spirit that was blocking out shadows and even peered over the top. We're at the 153rd step here. This talks about the story about cats can't fly. It talks about Cracker Daniels, the son of the lighthouse keeper C.D. Daniels, who found out cats can float when he attached a parachute to his sister cat Smokey and dropped him off the lighthouse. And his sister didn't find out about that until about 50 years later. Then talked about Native Americans who were used to move the bricks, $100,000 cost of construction, And then they're like, why is it important to be kind to animals? Because you don't want to throw animals or anything else off the top of the lighthouse. And they had the nice little cute graphic there. We're at the 153rd step, and we got 66 to go. So we're going to continue. We're going to look down from the 6th level, and you see me holding on tight there because I don't have a fear of heights, but damn, we were high. So we're moving up to level 7 here. There's a little view out the window. And we're up to level 7. And there's not really anything here, I don't think. Nope, not even a window. And you look down and holy crap. So you see those islets, and we're only one level up. Now this is going to be weird because if you notice, the landing is offset from us. So watch how long this staircase is. We're actually going to wrap around. So normally we'd be coming up on a landing right about right here. But no, we're going to wrap around. And what's funny is even though the lighthouse got skinnier and skinnier at the top, the stairs stayed the same width. The stairs never got skinnier. They stayed the same width all the way up. So when you get up here, there's a window, and we're really high. There's this little chest thing up here. There's 2 windows here actually, and you can look out and see for quite a bit. This here shows the construction of the wall. They had it kind of opened up here, and you can see how there's a steel beam inside of there. There's several steel beams around, and then the bricks are crisscrossed and kind of linked together like Legos, but you see that it's hollow, and I was kind of disheartened about that crack there. But if you look down here, you see that that's not an eyelet there. That's a little, like little roller bearings where that would have been where the cable would have first came through. And I think I point that out a little better when we're coming down. So we're working our way up, and we're going from the 7th level to the 8th level, which is actually the part where you can walk outside and you can get a great view from the top. And they had this tour guide here. He wasn't really a tour guide. He was just a guide. They do give tours, and I don't know if he was actually doing a tour just then or if he was just actually up there talking. But he was telling stories. I heard him tell about, there's the keeper's house. I heard him tell about the women that saved the house that's the gift house. I heard him telling stories about the weight, the cable, the weight that was the cable that was ran all the way up that made the lighthouse go around using weight. He's told several other stories. It was really windy up there. I'm not using any of the original audio because it is just so windy and so noisy. I'm going to have it earlier. I'm going to have it later on here in the video when I'm going down. I'm going to bring in some audio where you can hear just how noisy it is inside of the lighthouse because it just echoes and echoes and echoes. The sound has nowhere to go but just to bounce around inside of this thing. And there's a good shot of the keeper's house. Like I said, that was a kitchen on the right. I can't remember what that was on the left, and I don't know exactly what they said, but you couldn't go into the one on the left, and the kitchen on the right, they'd converted it to bathrooms. So, and you get a view of the rest of the thing here, the rest of the museum that I'll be talking about. There's the little barracks for the armed forces that stayed there. There's a couple, we can go in that. I go in that later. And there are the garages that they stored their vehicles in. There's the lens up top where it's rotating. And like I said, that is done with electricity now. And the lamp is no longer an oil lamp or a flame like it was before. It's an actual light. I'm sorry. Got tongue up over myself there. Anyway, this is just showing the mechanics on the inside, and you can actually get in here. This is still on the same level. You just have to kind of walk inside, and it was really small to get in there, and there was a bunch of people wanting to get in there. But you see the light up there where it's kind of browning a little bit, and you see the gears there where it's turning it. And it's this little thing here. It didn't come very good through on the video. and I didn't get a picture of it, but it was just basically talking about the mechanisms, and you see me in the window there, so you know that that's really me shooting all this. So now we're going to head down. So like I said, these stairs here was a little bit narrower than the others, going from the 7th level to the 8th. So we're heading down, and as we get on down a little bit here, I think I come back down since I'd heard that story. This is where I stop and I look at that bearing there, and I think I look up, at least I thought I did look up. I do, I go back, and you can see the actual above where it's coming through, where the cable would have came through the top. And I was basically just standing beside there. There it is. That's where it would have came through the top. And I was just basically, I didn't like trying to come down the stairs when somebody was trying to come up, because one, I was filming. There's the bearings where you see that cable would have went back down through, and I'm pretty sure that was a big cable, probably filled that entire hole. But I didn't like to film going down when people were coming up, just simply because I didn't want my phone to be out in people's faces. I tried to avoid it whenever possible. So we're heading down. This is going from the 7th level down to the 6th. And while we're going down, I'm just going to kind of turn the audio on here for a little bit and let you hear kind of what it sounds like inside of there. So yeah, like I said, it's quite, and we're on the 6th level here. We've already made it down to the 6th. It seems like you go down faster than you come up. But we may have been taking our time coming up, and going down, you're just trying to get out. And I stopped on the stairs there because, like I said, I like seeing that mesmerizing of people going down or coming up. But you don't really realize it when you're in the lighthouse, how loud and how echoey, how it echoes inside of there, until you hear it back on a playback, a video or something. So now we're down. We're not quite almost down. And I cut, if we stood around if you see the cuts, if we stood around for a while, if people came over and talked to me, or, because I'd had people actually come up to me and ask me why I was filming. And I just tell them, hey, I'm filming for my YouTube channel. I had a Typo Negative shirt on that day, so one guy was like, Typo Negative, man, yeah, I love them. We listened to them when I was in college. They were awesome. And I'm like, yeah, I still listen to them. So, yeah. Like, I listen to them still. They're my favorite band. Yeah, see, that's just cool, seeing the people on the different levels going down. And we're on the 3rd level here. And as you go down, I think that the steps stay the same width, but the tightness of the circle gets bigger. And, as you go up, of course, it gets smaller. The circumference gets smaller. But the cool thing is the steps stay the same size. So now we're leaving the 3rd level, heading down to the 2nd. And let's see. So we are at we're down to, this is the 2nd level. And we're on our way out. 1 level from the bottom. And I think this is where we get ambushed by a bunch of kids coming up. And I cut out most of this. Yeah, there they come. There was this like Girl Scout troop. And I cut it out because that was the last person. But I swear to God, I stood there for like 5 minutes because they just kept coming and coming and coming and coming. It was just all these little Girl Scout troop. So, yeah, I didn't want you to see, 5 minutes of me staring at the wall while all these kids are just continuously coming up. But yeah, so we're heading out, and this is the a lot of the floor. I thought I had the camera up higher than that. And then we head back outside. And so once we're back outside, if you go to the left, this talks about the person who cleaned the lens, or how often did they climb to the tower. If you want to pause that, it says that before it's electrified. And then it starts talking about World War II, starts talking about the barracks that was there, where the Coast Guardsmen were stationed there, and they stayed in this little house that was here. It had 2 bedrooms in it. The bedrooms was on the right, and it was 2 bedrooms, and each bedroom slept 2 people. And so when you this has just talks about the lookout quarters. So I got video here. When you walk in, when you first walk in, you kind of walk in and you're looking at the kitchen to the right, to the left. There's 2 rooms to the right, and those would have been the bedrooms. And then they have this radio there, and there's the bathrooms. You couldn't go in there. But that would have been the bathroom, and they had a kitchen that was to the left of that. They had a little radio here playing period music. And I thought that was cool. I wanted to add that audio in. But there's that sign that's in there that I had a picture of. And then over here on the left, there are 2 rooms. You could only get in one of them, but it would have just been two bedrooms. It looks like they had pictures in the windows, but they would have had 2 windows, and there probably would have been a bed on each side. And then they had the other room that you couldn't get into. They had one of the lenses in there, which was really cool. They had a bunch of that stuff just kind of around everywhere. And so then one of the last things that we did there was we went to eat at this restaurant that's called the Tin Pickle. And that was built into what used to be the garages. And they had a really cool menu of hot dogs and stuff like that. And what we ended up getting was I got a beer and one of those gourmet hot dogs. The hot dog I had it had like a corn salsa chili on it. And one of my friends that was with me got the pot pie. It was like a turkey pot pie or chicken pot pie or something like that. Or maybe a ham and cheese. I can't remember exactly what it was. He didn't like his too much. I really liked my hot dog. I really liked the beer. It was a local beer. I can't remember what the name of it was, but it was a local beer. But that's it. That's basically, like I said, I'm bummed that we didn't get to do a night investigation. I will go back to St. Augustine. They do 2 different types of night investigations. They do 2 different types of ghost tours. One is more of a tour where you go around with a tour guide. It's a couple hours, and you go around with the tour guide after dark, and they tell you about different things and things like that. They tell you all the different ghost stories and all the different history and the tragedies and stuff like that. There was 2 girls, 2 lightkeepers girls that was killed during the construction. There was the guy that supposedly hung himself. They talk about all the areas that was haunted. I didn't get the chance to talk about that in my video because we were moving so quick. But the basement is supposedly haunted by a man in the lighthouse. You hear voices of girls or children or a woman, sometimes conversations. At the top of the lighthouse at night is sometimes a woman or a girl is seen in white. They're always in white. And they talk about a lot of that on the tour. And, and like I said, if you've not ever seen that episode of Ghost Hunters, I recommend you check it out because they talk about a lot of that too. And you'll kind of see a lot of the same things that you saw here. But they do those kinds of tours, those night tours. They do them every Saturday. And like I said, we missed out on that because I didn't book my tickets in time. That was on me. So we missed out on that. That was sold out. But also at that same night, they were also doing something they only do like every quarter or so, where they have a night investigation where you can go in for 4 hours. And basically what it is the first 2 hours is the night tour where they talk about the things and everything. And then the second 2 hours is the paranormal investigation where you can bring your own things like EMF meters, or you can even rent some stuff there. You can bring your night vision, your heat gun, not heat guns, but your thermal cameras. And so I would like to I don't have any of that stuff. I don't have an EMF I don't have night vision. I don't have anything thermal. So I would like to go back and go sometime to one of those intensive investigations nights that you can do. But I want to have a little bit more equipment before I do that. But anyway, there it is, St. Augustine Lighthouse. It's in St. Augustine, Florida. If you want to visit, I've got the information about I've got the website about the lighthouse. It is in my, it's down in the description. And so that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like these paranormal videos, I've got other paranormal videos you can check out. You can, if you like this video, you can click my face here to subscribe and click the notifications button. If you like those videos, those types of videos, you can check here and see another type of paranormal video. And consider and like me on Facebook. Consider supporting me on Patreon. And this is Brant. This is in my head channel, Paranormal Stories. And I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.